Here again to swear in the board, particularly today, swearing in our longest serving board member, Donna Jones, again for a fifth term. I'm very excited and honored to be here to do that, and I really appreciate your support. And our newest board member to be, Emily Hubbard, will get both of you all sworn in. And I was excited to see you and your beautiful family, and that you are a parent also, as I am. And so we know that you're going to serve us very well, because as I do, you have a vested interest. So thank you. All right. All right, if you both can raise your right hands and state after me. I, Donna Jones.
I, Donna Jones.
I, Emily Hubbard.
I, Emily Hubbard.
Do hereby swear upon my oath.
Do hereby swear upon my oath.
That I do not hold any other elected office.
That I do not hold any other elected office.
In the city of St. Louis.
In the city of St. Louis.
Or state of Missouri.
Or state of Missouri.
And that I possess.
And that I possess.
All the qualifications required by state law.
And that I possess all the qualifications by state law.
To serve as a member.
To serve as a member.
On the Board of Education of the city of St. Louis.
On the Board of Education of the city of St. Louis.
I am not a party to any contract.
I am not a party to any contract.
With or claim against.
With or claim against.
The board either directly or indirectly. The board either directly or indirectly. I will not, while serving as a member.
I will not, as serving as a member.
Of the board.
Of the board.
Become interested.
Become interested.
In any contract.
In any contract.
With or claim against.
With or claim against.
The board.
The board.
Directly or indirectly.
Directly or indirectly.
Or as an agent or employee.
Or as an agent or employee.
Of any individual.
Of any individual.
Firm or corporation.
Firm or corporation.
Which is so interested.
Which is so interested.
I will not be influenced.
I will not be influenced.
During my term of office.
During my term of office.
By any consideration.
By any consideration.
Except that of.
Except that of.
Merit and fitness.
Merit and fitness.
In the appointment of officers.
In the appointment of officers.
And the engagement of employees.
And the engagement of employees.
I will faithfully fulfill.
I will faithfully fulfill.
All duties.
All duties.
Of the office of school board member.
Of the office of school board member.
And will serve St. Louis Public Schools.
And will serve St. Louis Public Schools.
To the best of my abilities as such.
To the best of my abilities as such.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, Your Honor. We so much appreciate your time and all your support
Yes.
all the time. And
Forever.
congratulations
Thank
to
you.
both of you. Thank you to the Missouri Legislature for their inspiring and poetic oath, which they've written. We are going to take a very quick break and we will resume our regular work session at 6:30. Good evening, everyone, and welcome back. I would like to call this meeting to order. Mrs. Henry, could you please call the roll?
Ms. Hubbard,
Here.
Ms. Hogan,
Here.
Ms. Sonier,
Present.
Ms. Val,
Present.
Ms. Jones,
Here.
Ms. Cousins.
Yes.
Mr. Davis.
Here,
We have a quorum.
could we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Because we have a sort of an interesting, different format for tonight's meeting, which we'll talk about in a minute, we're going to change the agenda a little bit. So we'll start with the December consent agenda review. So you have a copy of the December consent agenda in front of you. For the public, it's also posted on our website, slops.org/BOE on the board docs app. Are there any questions about the December consent agenda? And Ms. Val, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes. Do you have any
Okay.
questions
Yeah,
about
no
the
questions for
December
me.
consent agenda? All right, thank you.
I'm good. Go ahead.
Ms. Jones.
My question is on item number 12, 13, 22, 15. And the question is about, it says to approve the purchase of services from Metro for the first 4 weeks of special service for SLPS. So we're paying for when the school first started, the transportation.
Yes, ma'am. That is the cost for the assistance of Metro for the first 4 to 8 weeks of school. Yes, ma'am.
So are we continuing with the bus tickets or is that non-existent now?
We're no longer using bus tickets with the exception of one school, which is Vashon. Vashon is the only school with about 125 students who are still using bus passes or the gas cards.
Okay. And my second question was in regards to item number 12, 13, 22, 17, a memorandum of understanding with Sumner Advisory Board to implement the summary recovery plan. And I'm wanting to understand why we are issuing this memorandum, because I was under the impression that we currently have a program in place like this at Sumner, where our students were involved in the art, dance, and music.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct. We didn't have a memorandum. It was not fully in place. And so this is our attempt to get it on the record and get the board to approve it.
Will the students come away from this program with any type of certification during this time that they're participating in this program?
This is much more exploratory. It is not a certification program.
And I guess my next question is, are there any certified programs going on at Sumner at this time?
Dr. Gale, who manages Sumner, can come up a little bit to kind of answer that question, please. The CTE programs, I don't remember the computer program. I think there are two.
So good evening. Yes, Sumner right now has a web design program and they're starting fashion. The fashion program is going to be opened up as one of the pathways. However, we can get CTE, it's a CTE program as well, so we can get MPI points for it too.
So you're saying that the next program, it's not in effect right now, the
No.
fashion program.
Right, that's the only
But-
one. Mhm.
It's being developed, and once it's developed, then they can receive some type of certification.
So Sumner has two programs right now that if students completed them, they would be eligible for an industry recognized credential with an IRC. None of the arts programs though fall into that category. So we have two different things. We have CTE going on and we also have the arts pathways. The first attempt that we'll have to kind of have a crossover will be the fashion program. Museum studies maybe, but we haven't figured out yet how to kind of petition DESE, I guess, around what that could look like. The fashion program though, is one that we've had it in St. Louis Public Schools for several years. We haven't had it maybe in the last, I guess, maybe about 7 or 8 years, because typically it's hard to get a teacher. So we have partnered with Lindenwood University to come back and to come in and kind of partner with us to teach that course. Once we do that, once students complete the sequence of courses for 2 years, they may be eligible for an IRC.
So we have a variety of persons on the advisory board there at Sumner. Do any of the advisory persons participate in helping the students with certification or any? I know we talked about certification, that there is none right now, but what do they do there? Because I understood that there was the Shakespeare program and
Shakespeare St. Louis.
those, yeah, so I was hoping that the students would come out with acting or something from a program like that. So
So to Dr. Adams' point, it's more exploratory. It's more exposing them to the arts, right? And so the opportunities included in those. Some of them are going to come away with internships. I can get you that information if that's something that you like.
yes, all of us, if you could share that with all of us. Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you, Dr. Gale.
I'm looking at is this the MOU?
Yes, ma'am.
And is the hope, like for the new arts program and that you're speaking of, or is the hope to have 15 students for the drama, the dance, 18? Is that what's earmarked for that, or do we have that already?
That is what I provided to yourself and Mr. Davis today in terms of what's going on right now.
Okay,
I think his questions were germane to what's actually happening right now based upon what the MOU says. And so it's some attempt, and I'll get
oh, I
a
get what you're saying.
Yeah, it was a response to some questions that were asked.
So just to be clear, you're basically ensuring that the MOU supports
Yes.
what has been implemented at this point.
That is correct, because we didn't really have an MOU. It was a proposal, but the
Okay.
board never actually approved the MOU. And so we're coming back to approve the MOU with some of the same language we have our other partners in terms of publicity and other kinds of things that the board president has to be included.
Okay.
Dr. Adams, could you just briefly talk about item 1213-22-13? And that's a sole source contract with Lincoln University to train SLPS students as teachers.
I'll get you an update on it. I don't have any information in front of me, and Mr. Burton is out of town at a conference, but I can get you the details regarding it. Parson Blood is funding it. It's an attempt to partner with Lincoln University, similar to what we used to do with Harris Stowe, to try to assist in terms of identifying teachers or persons who can move into the teaching profession. But I'll get you some details in terms of numbers. The funding is coming through Parson Blood.
I think I like the part where they have to commit at least 3 years in return for participating in the program. I think that's something long overdue, but I appreciate that.
Yes, I'll get you some more data on it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions about the December consent agenda? Seeing none, we can move
Mr.
on.
President, I'd like to add
Oh,
one.
yes, sorry.
I'd like to add one item to the consent agenda, Mrs. Henry. That item number would be 12-13-22-18, and the language will be as follows. It will be up on the website tomorrow. To approve and adopt a contract with Confluence Academy Incorporated to accept sponsorship oversight responsibilities for the remaining 4 years of its 5-year charter term with the Missouri Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, pending annual evaluation of performance at no cost to the district. Confluence Academy is made up of 6 schools: South City Academy, Confluence Preparatory Academy, Grand Center Arts Academy Middle, Grand Center Arts Academy High, Old North Academy, and Aspire Academy. The service is supported by these funds in support of the following goals: Pillar 1, excellent schools; Goal 1B, safe and secure schools; and Pillar 5, cultivate partnerships and resources; and Goal 5, cultivate strategic partnerships. This will be added to the agenda for the board to vote on at the December 13th board meeting. It is my intent to provide the board with the adequate documentation on next Monday or Tuesday, such that the board can be able to ask any questions relative to this, and the public can as well.
Thank you, Dr. Adams. We're going to move on to reports of the board or board items. Are there any board members that have a board report? Ms. Cousins?
Yes, today we actually had a retreat for the citywide education plan champions. It was a very impactful and informative type of event that is preparing all for where we will be moving forward in this process. We are midway, so we're 6 months in to moving this process along. So we will be bringing more information as we come in regards to the citywide education plan.
There's just a few upcoming dates. December 6th at 6 o'clock via Zoom will be the first meeting of the Prop S Oversight Committee. On Tuesday, December 13th at 11, the External Audit Committee will be meeting via Zoom to review the findings of the external audit, which will be, I believe, presented and voted on at the meeting later that evening on Tuesday, December 13th, which will be our only regular will be only December meeting. It'll be a combined work session and regular meeting for the month of December. On December 14th, the Legislative Committee will meet at 6 o'clock via Zoom to review upcoming legislation, to do a preview of the legislation session that begins in January. And that is going to cover the month of December. So if there's no further board reports, we're going to move on to our next presentation, which is going to be the end of the live stream. What the purpose of this is, we have the network superintendents, all but one, who is out of town, who are here, and it's designed so the board is going to go individually and meet with the network superintendents and get presentations from the schools about the schools that they represent, and be able to ask questions on an individual basis. So we couldn't figure out a way to live stream that. Of course, if you're in the room, it is open to the public. The presentations, however, which they are going to be providing to the board, will be posted under board presentations on the website. So with that, we'll conclude the live stream, and we'll move on to our network superintendent presentations.
So I'm gonna ask Dr. Williams,
right.
Dr. Smith, I'm sorry, to come up and kind of give a quick update in terms of what we're gonna do. But the idea is that the network superintendent will provide a brief overview of data representing the individual networks. Following this, the networks will present one level of work that each network engages in on a regular basis at their schools, like observations, weekly data meetings, goal setting, school culture, and central office support. Dr. Smith will kind of give an update from an academic perspective. We have a new member tonight, Mrs. Hubbard, so we thought it would be important to kind of give us some context for about 3 to 4 minutes about what the academic office is about, and then jump quickly into the learning networks. Thank you, Dr. Smith.
No, I do appreciate that. And so good afternoon, Board of Education, Dr. Adams. Again, I'm Dr. Marion Smith Jr., Deputy Superintendent of Academics. And so I would like to share 2 items with you before the one-on-one presentations begin with network superintendents. Number one, the process. And so reading from just the learning guide that we created, each board member will receive a number 1 through 5 to start their rotation. Board members will rotate clockwise through each 15-minute presentation until each board member has heard presentations and engaged in conversations with each network superintendent. Ms. Henry will serve as the official timekeeper and will let the group know when 10 minutes, 5 minutes, and 2 minutes remain in each rotation. And number two, as noted by Dr. Adams, with the addition of a newly sworn in board member joining the session tonight, and to create additional awareness about the work that happens in the largest division in the school district, the academic office, with our over 100+ staff members, I'll take a few minutes to provide a snapshot overview of the core work of the academic office. So there is a bit of context to what you're listening to during those one-on-one conversations with the network superintendents. Because I only have a few minutes, each of you have been provided with a green folder. I do believe Ms. Henry passed those out. Thank you very much. With 5 documents, not including the slide deck presentation, that provides additional information and data should you be interested in a bit more about a few items that I'll speak to. And so I'll begin with our transformation in the academic office started in July of 2021 when I began as Deputy Superintendent of Academics. In year 1 of our work as an academic office, we focused on the concept of learning, unlearning, and relearning. And so I want to spotlight 2 items of impact during this time. The first one is the implementation of central office-led school learning walks with the focus on scholar learning and real-time digital feedback to staff. And so this has continued and has been refined in year 2, and that information can be found in your folders, along with the schedule, structure, and data for what we call our focus on scholar learning walks. Item number 2 that I'll spotlight is the identification of key instructional strategies to improve learning and teaching. And so since last spring, we have cultivated a district-wide awareness and professional learning focused on what we call the academic office key 3. Once again, those documents are in your folder to learn a little bit more about what we call the key 3 in the academic office. For year 2 of our work, we're continuing with building upon the work from year 1, but you'll notice that we're being very intentional to build upon spring of 2022 with the concept of building adult capacity, their skill, and their will to impact scholar learning. And so with that, you may have noticed when you walk into this room outside in central office buildings and school buildings, there's a yellow poster, and that yellow poster says the work of the academic office, right? And so that visual is a daily reminder for everyone in our system of the why, the what, and the how of the work of the academic office and how we continue to support our staff. And so I'd like to highlight just the what of our collective work for this school year that is focused on 3 things. The first is strengthening the instructional core so that each of our scholars have access to targeted supports to achieve standards and engage in what we call deeper learning through the academic office key 3. You'll hear that quite a bit, key 3. Our second focus for this year around that what is using multiple sources of data, whether it's qualitative, quantitative, or perceptual, to inform our decision-making. So we're not focusing specifically on, we used to do this simply because. We're actually grounding it in those 3 data points to inform those decision-making. And then lastly, applying what we call those best we know right now practices to educate the whole child, because we're mindful that best practices don't necessarily translate well from school to school. What happened in school A may not work really well in school B. And so how do we make sure that we incorporate those best we know right now practices across our system? Talking about the how, I won't really get into that because you'll be listening to one-on-one presentations from network superintendents, and they'll be talking specifically about the how in each of their networks. But what I would like to call out is that in July of 2022, we invited, as a part of our Summer Leadership Institute, a visiting speaker. So she's the former principal of Fenger High School in South Side of Chicago. And so that's Liz Dozier. And so a lot of our work this year has been anchored in the concept of decolonizing the mind to change lives. So how do we do this work intentionally to be able to understand the realities of where all of our scholars come from and being able to do the work, the learning, the unlearning, and the relearning to move that work forward. And so that's been a part of our work this particular school year. With the remaining time that I have is, in the end, we know it's all about a team. And so this is just a visual of the overarching academic office, minus all of the org charts for each of the different departments. But as I said before, the academic office is the largest division in the school district, 100+ staff members who are unapologetic and unflinching around learning and teaching. And how do we create the conditions for everyone to be able to do that? And so with that, I'll turn it back over to Board President Davis to follow the process shared earlier to begin the network superintendent presentations. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Dr. Smith Jr. Now we will end the live stream and everyone can go to their tables.